Welcome to the channel, guys. My name's eddbud, and today I've got an initial review for you of the Brooks Hyperion Elite 2. Thanks for joining us on the channel today, guys. If you haven't done so already, please hit that subscribe button and click the bell below for notifications of when I launch those new videos. So the Brooks Hyperion Elite 2 is here. I very much enjoyed the Hyperion Tempo from Brooks, a shoe I ran 100 miles in and very much enjoyed pretty much all of them. This one clocks in at 248 grams in my UK size 11, US size 12. I think it's about 8.78 ounces. A 7mm drop is quoted by Brooks on their website for the Hyperion Elite 2. I think their measurements are for a UK size 8.5, and when I looked at scale, there is pretty much a 7mm drop between the heel and the forefoot here. So the second iteration of this shoe, really. There was an Elite which was released earlier this year, but it pretty much got the thumbs down from almost everybody that tested it out. The DNA Flash makes another appearance here that we first saw in the Brooks Hyperion Tempo, and quite similar upper as well, although there are a few little changes. That's no bad thing really, as the Hyperion Tempo upper was pretty much sublime. At £209 though, it's some big dough. Can it live up to that price tag? It's wallet crushing levels of earth credit abuse. Is it worth it? Let's dig in. I took this one on my typical 10-mile test route, 16.1 kilometers. Around about 7 minutes 11 seconds per mile average pace, which is 4 minutes 35 per kilometer. The upper first. Gotta say, the upper here in the Elite 2 is very, very light, but not really that breathable around the sides of the shoe. I did find it a little warm, and it was a very crisp and cold morning out there. Almost football boot-like, really, around the midfoot area. There are some vent holes here in the toe box. That toe box is very, very flexible. Fortunately, the material itself, which the upper consists of, is very, very soft to the touch. Extremely flexible, in fact. You don't really feel the upper around your toes at all. Over my 10-mile initial run, I found the upper gave quite a bit over 5 or 6 miles. At about 8 miles, I actually had to stop because the left shoe had loosened up so much, and it was quite a chilly morning and my hands were really cold by that point. So I think I probably looked like some sort of crab man who was attempting to tie up a pair of shoes. It was probably quite a feeble sight. My fingers just would not respond to the commands being issued by my brain. I just couldn't hold the laces tight enough to be able to retie them. It was quite humorous now I look back on it. I did notice post-run actually that the shoe had taken on about 8 or 9 grams of weight. And it wasn't raining out there or anything, it is just sweat and hard-earned graft. So I think the upper's nothing to touch Atom Knit or Cellar Mesh found on the Nike and Adidas top level shoes. So I wouldn't expect miracles, especially if you're wearing these in a very wet racing situation. No issues around the lockdown really. The laces are extremely springy. You try and cinch them tight and they just spring and fire around everywhere. I had the same problem in the Hyperion Tempo. Though when you do get the laces cinched down and tied properly, it's a really nice fit over the top of the foot. I think the laces are probably more wriggly than 2-week-old Fergus Basinski. Love the tongue. It's just thick enough to protect the important part of the top of your foot there from those laces. I found very little movement from that tongue over the 10 miles test today. Heel lock was good. I found no problems at all with rubbing. It just felt like it wasn't really there. The upper is really light here. I've used some standard ankle socks here and no issues. I just can't remember a shoe actually where I had any issues with heel rubbing at all. Can't think of a single one. Toe box room is rather generous here. Some people might not like that in a race shoe. I don't mind really. I've got very big toes and they like a little bit of extra room there. One of my feet is slightly longer than the other. I think it's the right foot. No problem there. I quite enjoyed the extra room. It's not a lot of extra room. It's more toe box height really. Would I go down half a size to remedy that? No, I probably wouldn't in this case. True to size on this one. So not really too sure about the laces. Don't think we really need that level of elastication. Is that a word? Possibly. The upper around the midfoot area was a little warm. Thus I'm going to knock off a few points. I'm going to give this 2.6 out of 3 for upper after my initial run. Midsole now. It's like a banana yellow mass of midsole foam on the Elite 2. As you guys know, I ran in the Hyperion Tempo earlier this year. Very much enjoyed that shoe. Got to 100 miles very quickly, in fact, in it. I really loved its very light nature, and its bigger brother here, the Hyperion Elite 2, is very similar. I found that the DNA Flash midsole here did take about 20 miles to break in and mellow out a little bit. It's a little bit like guitar amplifier speakers. They take a little bit of time before they loosen up a little bit, and then you get some beautiful golden tones. I think the experience here in the Hyperion Elite 2 is going to be very similar to the Hyperion Tempo midsole, though there is a great deal more foam here. Visually in the heel, actually, there isn't really that much difference between the height in the Hyperion Tempo and the Hyperion Elite 2, but undoubtedly in the forefoot there is more foam here. I mean, don't forget that I did 100 miles in the Hyperion Tempo. They're undoubtedly more compressed due to that. So I think the midsole foam here is actually going to hold up really well over the miles. The height is certainly noticeable underfoot, but it felt very, very stable. No issues on cornering. A familiar, firm, but forgiving feel underfoot. Bit of a tongue twister, that one. Stability is improved due to the quite considerable increase in that landing area. Underfoot, there's about a centimetre increase in width in the midfoot and also in the heel. I really didn't feel the arch at all underfoot. It felt like a reasonably wide shoe. I don't think anybody with wide feet is going to have too much of an issue if they want to go for the Hyperion Elite 2. A feeling somewhere between the Saucony Endorphin Pro and Speed, maybe the Hoka One Carbon X also, and that Hyperion Tempo. It's kind of someone's put them in a cauldron and this is what you came out with. Nice. Probably all of the things I really like about the Hoka One Carbon X, such as that wider landing platform and that very light upper actually. They're all here but with a far more forgiving midsole feel. Can't really scoff at today's paces, I'll certainly up for it. Somewhere between 7 minutes 20 seconds per mile and just under 7 minutes per mile also. So that's between 4 minutes 34 per kilometre and 4 minutes 20 per kilometre. Actually got faster towards the end of the run, so gotta say, pretty impressed with this one in terms of the midsole feel. It's just pretty easy out there today. My second best time logged for that 10-mile test. Now that can mean all sorts of things. It could be down to other attributes, of course, such as improved fitness. I've put in a huge number of miles since some of those other super shoe 10-mile tests. Perhaps lack of sleep due to the baby, or better quality of coffee and bananas consumed before the run. I like this foam. It's very durable and consistent, as has been proven in my testing of the Hyperion Tempo. I enjoyed my initial run today. 2.8 out of 3 for the Elite 2, only impacted slightly by a poorly glued in insole. Outsole time. Don't use this outsole on wet grassy areas. You will come unstuck. Or smooth slippery stone scenarios either. Could be pretty unfortunate. It's dynamite though on road and pavement. Great grip gained from that outsole rubber. It's certainly been carefully positioned here. It's pretty much all in the midfoot and the forefoot, with a tiny slither back here in the heel. Brooks have certainly been Scrooge-like in the implementation of the rubber here. Looks like they're certainly trying to lessen the weight. I would suggest though it's ski-like in terms of any wet underfoot conditions, mainly due to where the rubber's focused. There's a lot of exposed midsole here as well. So just be careful. I think that means that the shoe's certainly not going to suit everybody, certainly if you live in a more moist or wet climate. Also, I guess durability could be a little bit of an issue. There's just less rubber here. Surely that's going to wear down a little faster. I think as a race shoe, you've got to be mindful of all these different aspects, as shoe selection for such events can be make or break. Dry grip though was stellar. Not Adizero Pro level grip, but certainly on par with the Saucony Endorphin Speed and Pro. I would suggest a little less effective in the outsole than the Nike Zoom Tempo Next Percent or the Alphafly, so I'm going to give this a 2.6 out of 3 for outsole. Value time. At 209 Earth credits. It's a heavy price. It's a sizable sum.
It's big dough.
But I do feel like the Saucony Endorphin Pro and Speed that this could be a very durable shoe and something you could use perhaps on a more daily basis. It's certainly on par performance with the Saucony Endorphin Speed and the Adidas Adizero Pro. I mean, for me, over the 10-mile test, those three shoes have come out on top right now. Although I'm really keen to see what I can run that 10-mile test route in while wearing the Nike Air Zoom Tempo Next Percent or perhaps the Alpha Fly with my improved fitness. Though I think this one's a really nice balance between firm and forgiving cushion. Though I think at £40 more than the Adidas Adizero Pro, it is rather expensive. I mean, it's got a slight weight advantage over this shoe, though it comes in very close in terms of that aspect to the Saucony Endorphin Pro and Speed. Brooks have done really well to minimise the weight here, but that doesn't get away from the fact it's still a very costly shoe, with only the Alpha Fly and the Next Percent more expensive than this one. That's undoubtedly going to put people off from trying out this shoe when they could go for the much cheaper Saucony Endorphin Speed. There's a whole raft of other shoes that come in way under £200, so that's its Achilles heel. In terms of value, I think £180 or Earth credits would be far more reasonable, just a more attractive price to draw in potential buyers. But it is what it is. After my initial run, a 2 out of 3 for value. That gives us a grand total of 10 out of 12 for the Brooks Hyperion Elite 2. So really nice fit here, very comfortable upper, firm but fair midsole, with some really great roll and push off feel, let down by those overly stretchy laces. An upper that's certainly going to give a little bit over the first 20 or so miles, a poorly glued in insole, and some under par wet traction, and it just costs too much. Let me know your thoughts and opinions on the Hyperion Elite 2 from Brooks down in the comments. A musical interlude for you. I dug back out Jens Lekman's Night Falls over Quartadala. Every track on this album is just beautiful. I remember every kiss. It really is one of my favourites. And sipping on the sweet nectar as well. In fact, I don't think there are any songs I dislike on this album. Shirian is also a beautiful song about a lady who cut Jens Lekman's hair in a illegal barber shop that she'd set up in her house. There's also a song on there called Friday Night at the Drive-In Bingo, which I actually believe is based on some experiences Jens Lekman had as a bingo caller. I could be wrong, it could just be all made up stuff, but I want to believe. So do check this one out from Jens Lekman, a fantastic album. I believe it came out back in 2007, this one came out. Night Falls over Quartadala. That's just about all for today, guys. Thanks for sticking with me till the very end. We're fast approaching 10,000 subscribers now. I can't quite believe it. If you haven't done so already, please hit that subscribe button and click the bell for notifications of when we launch those new videos. It would mean a lot to me as well, and it would help the channel out too if you give this video a thumbs up like and share it with your running buddies. My name's EDDBUD, and I'll be seeing you